911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hold on a second. I forgot to turn my light on. There we go. I hope everyone's well. It's good to see you. It's been a minute. What's gone on for me in the last week or so. So I apologize for yawning, but I had therapy today and it kicked my butt. So I'm really tired. So we're gonna get through this live together, though. So let's see who all is with us. Hey, 63 Clocks, how are you? Yes, I'm doing very well, thank you. Hey, Mary, good to see you. Thank you. Hey, John, I'm glad you're here with me. Hey, Frank, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you so much for your 3-month membership. I appreciate it. Hey, Lynn, how are you doing? Hey, Dapper, aka Tangerine. Hey, Neil. Hi, Joe Mosier. Hey, Joe. How are you? Good to see you. Hey, Deb. How are you, my dear? Good to see you. Hey, Tech Death. How are you, my dear? Always good to have you with me. Hey, Lisa. I am. I'm doing really well, guys. Doing really well. Hey, CJK, how are you, my dear? It is, it is. His music is absolutely the best. Hey, David Shot. Hey, Piper's Dream. Hey, Witchcraft. Hey, Priscilla of Boston. Good to see you. Thank you so much. I've missed you guys too. I had to I had to I had to do a live because I was just like, I just have to. I miss these guys. Hey, Periwinkle. Hey, Peggy Day. How are you? Welcome, guys. Thank you so much. Hey, Brown Skittle. How are you? Hey, Wanda from Missouri. Good to see you. So yeah, my surgery went well. I had it last Tuesday, and everything went according to plan. I mean, I had no complications, no hiccups, nothing. Got to the hospital about 8 o'clock. Took me back by around 10. I was out by noon. Everything was done, and they had me up by 1:30 walking. And I was home by 3:45. So it was pretty intense, pretty quick, and yeah. Hey, Frank, thank you so much for that. $10. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you. And, so that was pretty spooky to have to get up on it right away. I was a little apprehensive. They did a spinal, um, and with, general anesthesia in the spinal that deadened me from the waist down, and then they gave me a nerve block in that leg, and they blocked that nerve, and by doing those 2 things, it actually affords you the ability to get up and walk and be able to move, if that makes sense, and that was the reason, um that's the way they do these replacements now. They have found over time that the quicker you get up and move and keep moving, the better off you are. Sadly, for a lot of people, that they just don't get that part of it. They don't understand that part of it, and they can't move through their pain. And so um, they don't do those things, and unfortunately, then their knee and the joint itself seizes up and gets super tight from the inflammation, the swelling, and just lack of movement when you're not moving it. And if you let that stay like that for any length of time and it starts to build that scar tissue, there's a point of no return, and you can't get that range of motion back. So I was like, I didn't really feel any pain at all. Um, I felt like surgery pain, if that makes sense. Like I could feel my incision, but as far as being when went to stand up, I did not have any pain, and I was able to get walk to the bathroom, and everything was I was fine. I had to do that before I left the hospital. Um, and no, I was able to get right up out of bed. I wasn't too numb to move at all. And so I I've actually impressed the heck out of my physical therapist and everybody in the physical therapy department. They said that I am way, way, way above where I should be a week out from surgery. I'm doing phenomenal. So that's really good news. I'm really happy about that. And I'm just pushing. I'm just going to keep pushing and pushing because I want to get the best possible outcome from my knee as I possibly can. I think the hardest part of this whole thing is the amount of pain that comes from the quadricep. Um, It's just incredible. And our quads are what really stabilizes our knee and stabilizes our leg and keeps us standing up and keeps us upright. So, but you guys well know that I started working out last year, after I had my gastric sleeve surgery, and I was in the gym 5 to 6 days a week, and I was working out in the water, and I was making sure that I was doing all the things that I could possibly do to strengthen my leg and strengthen those muscles. And I think that that's part of why I'm having such a good outcome, because I went into this super healthy and in really good shape. So, I think that makes a huge difference. My physical therapist also said that another reason I'm doing so well is because I was in such horrific, debilitating pain at the end. And she said she's been doing this for over 25 years. And her patients that have that extreme, god awful pain at the end, where they are ready to basically give up their leg, then continue to walk on it. Those are the patients that do the best. So maybe all that pain I was in, it wasn't for naught. Maybe in the long run, it's helped me, because I'm not in any pain like that now. My pain is surgical pain, and I can tell the difference, I think. So I'm really happy about it, and onward, and upward from here. I've got a whole list of things that I that I have on my bucket list, and the biggest thing now is just to get this thing healed, get me healed, and get out there, and start doing some of the stuff that I really want to do. Thank you so much, Brown Skittle. I am proud of myself. I've worked very hard. It's not been, um, you know, it's not been an easy road. I know a lot of people think that bariatric surgery is taking the easy way out. It isn't. People who don't understand or don't know have no idea the amount of work that goes into changing your entire life for the better. So, but yeah, I'm really glad to be here. Tonight we're going to talk about the motions. Uh, there's been a few this week. The defense filed a motion to suppress. They also filed a motion to have Nick McClellan removed. I believe they did that again. They're just up to their old antics, aren't they? They're just being defense attorneys, actually, and just doing their jobs. But we're going to talk about some of that. We're going to talk about why they have such a need to get the information suppressed, not only his confessions, but also everything from the search warrant. They want all of that suppressed, and why it's so imperative to them that this happen. And I don't think we can lose sight of that, as we're looking at this case. I think that sometimes people just think of it as just regular attorneys lawyering and just doing their, the lawyering stuff with cases, but not necessarily. A lot of times this stuff really is giving us a true eye as to what's going on with the case and why, why we are where we are. My phone's going off. Hold on a second, guys. Oh, okay. Sleuth is live. And I'm sorry for those that are over there, because I'm a member of his channel as well, and I'm missing his live. So thank you so much, Deb. I feel, like I said, I feel really good. My biggest complaint, I think, is that I'm just not getting as good a sleep as I would like, but that's to be expected. It's kind of hard to get comfortable after a knee replacement in the first early weeks. And I know once the the actual incision heals and that is all healed up, and I'm not putting all that pulling pressure on that incision, things are going to feel a lot better. A lot better. So, so let's see. Let's see. I'm just looking at a couple things here. Hold on a second. So let's take a look at something here. Hold on. Give me a minute, guys. I'm trying to get it pulled up without screwing everything up. And yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. I got to look for something. I'm looking for a document, so just give me a minute. I don't think I'm going to actually read through all the documents tonight. I don't really want to do that with you guys. I really want to talk about some things. So, but there was a motion to compel and a motion for sanctions that was filed on the 23rd by Richard Allen. Comes now the defendant, Richard Allen, by counsel Andrew Baldwin, Bradley Rosie, Jennifer Auger, and for his motion to compel states as follows: that on or about October 28th, 2022, the state of Indiana, by its prosecuting attorney, Nicholas McClelland, charged Richard Allen with 2 counts of murder. Mr. Allen's initial hearing was held on October 28th, 2022. On November 14th of 2022, attorneys Brad Rosie, Andrew Baldwin entered their appearances in this matter on behalf of Mr. Allen. Pursuant to Rule 2.5 of the Indiana Rules of Criminal Procedure, the state must disclose and furnish all relevant items and information under Section B2 to the defense within 30 days of the initial hearing. An appearance by defense counsel or an appearance by pro se defendant, whichever is later. Indiana Rule Criminal Law Procedure 2.5b2 states that the state must disclose the following information within its possession or control: the names and last known addresses of persons whom the state intends to call as witnesses with their relevant written or recorded statements, any written, oral, or recorded statements made by the accused or by a co-defendant, regardless of whether charged or joined, and a list of witnesses to the making and acknowledgement of such statements, and any reports or statements of experts made in connection with the case, including results of physical or mental examinations and of scientific tests, experiments, or comparisons. Any books, papers, documents, photographs, or tangible objects that the prosecuting attorneys intend to use in the hearing or trial, and any books, papers, documents, photographs, or tangible objects which were obtained from or belong to the accused. Documents produced pursuant to Rule 1.4, subpoenas ducus tecum, and returns prior to filing. Additionally, the state has the duty to disclose evidence which is favorable to the defense, Bradley versus Maryland, 373 U.S. 83, 1963, and Giglio versus U.S. 405 U.S. 150, 1972, Minnick versus State, 698 Northeast 2D 245 755, Indiana State Court, 1998. The above information was due to the defense 30 days after Attorney Baldwin and Rosie entered their appearance. Therefore, it was due by December 14th of 2022. So their motion for sanctions, the general facts are: between September 8th of 2023 and October 6th of 2023, 9 months after it was due, the state of Indiana sent the defense 14 hard drives, 5 flash drives, 3 DVDs, and several emails containing discovery disclosures amounting to almost 4 terabytes of information. Before the defense had a chance to review all of this late discovery, utilizing only 2 lawyers and 2 non-lawyers, 3 of whom were not able to work full-time on the case, the prosecutor requested that the defense be disqualified on October 10th, 2023, and the court ordered the defense to stop working on the case on October 12th, 2023. Accordingly, Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Rosie did not work on the case again until January 19th of 2024. During that 34-day time frame from September 8th of 2023 through October 12th, the defense was only able to review a tiny fraction of the massive amounts of discovery that had been dumped on the defense 9 to 10 months after it was due. Attorneys Rosie and Baldwin were reinstated and re-entered their appearances on January 19th, 2024. The 2017 extraction and data and other items of discovery were turned over to the defense on January 30th of 2024. However, it did not appear to the defense that the hard drives were organized the same as when originally provided during their first tenure. And these changes have caused considerable delay in locating certain evidence, if that evidence can be located at all. Additionally, it appears to the defense that the state of Indiana has belatedly disclosed tens of thousands of documents spread through many hard drives. For example, the state of Indiana first turned over the hard drive labeled FBI Case 7C IP2134732 to the defense on October 31st, 2023, after Rosie and Baldwin were off the case. And the state of Indiana turned over the hard drive labeled Orion to the defense on December 7th, 2023, after Rosie and Baldwin were off the case. After Rosie and Baldwin were reinstated, the state of Indiana turned over those two hard drives to Rosie and Baldwin on January 30th of 2024. While the defense should have had those hard drives on or before December 14th of 2022, the defense did not receive those hard drives until January 30th of 2023. Most of the items found on the hard drives detailed above are not labeled in any descriptive fashion, and many, if not most, of the items consisting of documents, photographs, and videos have zero context as to what the significance of the documents, video, photographs are. Many of the items are not accompanied by a report or even notes that explain the reason such items are included in discovery. For example, one video shows a man that appears to be dead on a bed being turned over by what appears to be police. There is no context provided as to why that video is included in the massive amount of discovery or what this video has to do with the murder of LG and AW. That is just one example of thousands of examples that the defense could cite of evidence with no context of why it is related to this case that the state of Indiana has provided to the defense. And let me stop here and say this, you guys, just so you guys are aware and we can be clear here. The state of Indiana is not responsible to do the legwork for the defense team. They are not responsible to make sure that the discovery is in some sort of a chronological order for them with everything highlighted. They don't know what the defense is going to consider relevant and what the defense isn't going to consider relevant. That is up to the defense to decide by looking everything over. Everything. For them to complain that they only had 2 attorneys and 2 non-attorneys working this case, again, that is not the state of Indiana's problem. That is not the state of Indiana's problem. The prosecution who's prosecuting this case, that's not their problem. Did they ask for additional help? Did they go to the court and petition the court for motion by motion stating, look, we have this, terabytes and terabytes of data that we can't timely look at to make any determinations of its relevance? No. If anybody out there knows of a motion where they did that, I would be really happy to see it. It's really easy after the fact to come in and start complaining, foul, you didn't get this to us in a timely manner, foul, it's just ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. But again, this is what the defense team does, and this is what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to do everything in their power to muddy the case, to get as much smoke out there and mirrors as they can for their client. And that's what they're doing with this particular motion that I'm going through right now. Additionally, more recent evidence that the state of Indiana has turned over to the defense through e-discovery contains evidence that is seemingly sandwiched in the middle of completely unrelated discovery. For example, the state produced one e-discovery response received on March 15th of 2024, which included a document labeled Second Half of Delphi, 3 SUPs, SUPPS, consisting of 341 pages of documents. Most of the contents in this document are reports from Westville Correctional Unit. However, buried among these other reports is a narrative report on page 239 by Detective Vito of the ISP describing a phone call with a Detective Liddell of the Manatee County, Florida Sheriff's Office detailing an investigation of a third-party suspect known by Unified Command in this matter. Detective Liddell told Detective Vito that the Manatee County Sheriff's Office sent a tech to obtain a pair of a suspect's jeans that appeared to have blood on them, and that Manatee County Sheriffs would send the items to the Lafayette, Indiana State Police Post. Additionally, Detective Liddell sent an email to Detective Vito with their report and a statement affidavit. Detective Vito noted that both documents were attached to the report. Neither the Manatee County, Florida report nor statement affidavit were attached to the document the state of Indiana provided to the defense. The defense has not located any follow-up discovery detailing whether the state of Indiana even attempted to test the blood on those pants for DNA and does not know if such a report exists, and if it does, whether it may be found sandwiched in between other discovery. This is just another example of the discovery issues plaguing the defense. This document would not have been found but for someone taking the time to go through the discovery one page at a time. Excuse me? You have to go through the discovery one page at a time. Why would you not go through the discovery one page at a time? How are you going to skim discovery? People, this is absolutely ridiculous that they're even putting that in writing. The fact that they're having to go through the discovery one page at a time. I mean, absolutely, I just can't even believe it. I imagine that law professors right now are absolutely pulling their hair out. Like, where did these guys go to school? Where did they get their degree? Come on, who do they think? I mean, who in the heck do they think that these people they're talking to are? This is going to the court and to Frances Gull, and she wasn't born yesterday. I mean, it's just incredible to me, the stuff that they put in these motions and how it makes them look utterly ridiculous. And as I said, it's not up to the state to pull out all relevant information. They don't know what's going to be relevant or not relevant to the defense. That's up to the defense to determine, not for the prosecution to tell them. And the prosecution has no legal right or demand to help them in the defense of their client. The only thing that they legally have to do is give up information if it is exculpatory. But they don't have to put everything in chronological order and all of that. That's up to them to do and to go through and decide. I don't know what they were expecting. And the fact that they were removed from this case is not Nick McClelland's fault. This is their own fault and their own doing. And the fact that they lost those 34 days is not Nick McClelland's fault. And now they're claiming foul after screaming about needing a speedy trial. Here we are talking about the fact that they've not had a chance to go through discovery. They don't have everything. Really? What is your defense of Richard Allen? Is it really the Odinism angle, or is that just another smoke screen for you to delay in hopes that eyewitnesses will forget years down the road? I mean, if they can hold out for another 7 years and keep this out of court for 7 more years, just imagine the landscape that will have changed in the case, and who may or may not still be with us and able to testify. It's just ridiculous. Furthermore, the state of Indiana has sent repeated piecemeal discovery, forcing the defense to engage in a time-consuming process of reviewing and attempting to search multiple hard drives, flash drives, and e-discovery for particular documents the defense believes exist but cannot locate. The state of Indiana has drowned the defense in late discovery disclosures, which materially harms the defense team in preparing for trial in a meaningful and cohesive way. Liberty German's cell phone. On February 15, 2017, Lieutenant Brian Booner of the Cyber Crimes Unit of Indiana State Police conducted an extraction of data from Liberty German's cell phone using a program called Celebrite. Said information was downloaded via Celebrite, and several reports were generated therefrom. When the defense was unable to locate and discover the data from Liberty's phone, it sent an email to Prosecutor McClelland on June 17, 2023, requesting a copy of that data from Liberty German's phone, as it had not yet been provided to the defense. Clearly, the state of Indiana possessed the 2017 Celebrite extraction and data on the date that they filed charges against Mr. Allen, October 28th of 2022, as well as when the defense requested the data from Liberty's phone in its June 17th, 2023 email. Despite being in the state of Indiana's possession for over 5 years when charges were filed against Mr. Allen on October 28th, 2022, the extraction and data from Liberty German's phone was not provided to Mr. Allen's attorneys until September 8, 2023, 9 months after it was due to the defense. However, upon receiving the extraction and data from Liberty German's phone, the defense was unable to immediately focus on that important piece of evidence, as the evidence was just one small part of a much larger series of evidence dumps that the state of Indiana chose to turn over to the defense in a roughly 4-week period between September 8, 2023 and October 6, 2023, and more than 9 months later than required under the Indiana Rules of Criminal Procedure. Look, if they had turned this stuff over 9 months prior, what's the issue here? Truly, they still would not have read this stuff. They still would not have looked at it. They have made it clear that they didn't have any intention of looking through the discovery piece by piece. They don't have the manpower to do that, and that's not what they're doing. I would be floored. I'd fire them. If they were my attorneys and I knew that they weren't going through the discovery piece by piece and looking at every single document, I would be furious, especially in a case that is got my life on the line. I just can't get over it. I mean, like I said, this stuff just never ceases to amaze me. However, upon receiving the extraction and data from Liberty German's phone, the defense was unable to immediately focus on this. Included in the 2017 Celebrite extraction of Liberty German's phone was a video purportedly taken on February 13th at 2:13 p.m. 2017, containing images of Abigail Williams and a purported suspect. The state of Indiana failed to produce this extraction to the defense until September 8th of 2023, 9 months later than discovery rules mandated. Again, they were not in court just days or even weeks after the so-called date of when they were supposed to get the discovery, complaining to the court that they hadn't yet received discovery. They're not doing that until now, because now it can benefit them in trying to delay. Additionally, in 2019, the Indiana State Police, perhaps without outside assistance, conducted additional extractions of Liberty German's phone utilizing different software programs. These newer extractions have been discussed by Indiana State Police officers in depositions, but has not been located in any discovery provided by the prosecutor in any usable fashion. The defense has requested the state of Indiana to provide the locations of these newer extractions. Additionally, a certain extraction software program called Axiom has been provided to the defense. The defense has been unable to open this said extraction, but apparently needs some type of special licensed program in order to open the extraction. The defense believes that the state of Indiana has not provided the special program. As part of a reasonable investigation, the defense would have wanted the opportunity to compare the 2017 extraction to the 2019 extraction to see what differences might exist and the reasons for those differences, and would have further wanted to exercise that opportunity on or before December 14th, 2022, when the state of Indiana was required to turn over all extractions of Liberty German's phone, so that the defense had had as much time as possible to analyze Liberty German's phone extractions. There's no justification for submitting the 2017 cell phone extraction or any other of the extractions and data 9 months after they were due to the defense, especially when the state of Indiana had the evidence in its possession for almost 6 years prior to charging Mr. Allen. Assistant Rushville Police Chief Todd Click's letter, report, and evidence. Contained in these disclosures was the letter and 83-page report prepared by Assistant Rushville Police Chief Todd Click, which was sent by certified mail to Prosecutor Nick McClelland on April 28, 2023. The Carroll County Prosecutor's Office signed for the certified letter and report on May 1st, 2023. Yet inexplicably, Mr. McClelland did not disclose this highly exculpatory report nor the accompanying exculpatory videos and other related discovery to the defense until September the 8th, 2023, 4 months after he received it. Rule 3.8D of the Rules of Professional Conduct, Special Responsibilities of a Prosecutor, states that the prosecutor in a criminal case shall make timely disclosure to the defense of all evidence or information known to the prosecutor that tends to negate the guilt of the accused or mitigates the offense. The prosecution should have turned that material over to the defense immediately upon his receipt of the same. There is no justification for Prosecutor McClelland to delay turning over the Click report for over 4 months after the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office received it. The delay in disclosing the Click report and evidence to the defense has resulted in harm to Mr. Allen. Had the state of Indiana turned over the Click report, videos, and documentation in a timely manner, the defense would have focused on a certain third-party suspects much earlier in their representation and would have then investigated this case much differently and much more efficiently. I call BS on that. I don't believe that for 1 second. They changed the order of deposing witnesses and would have deposed certain witnesses such as Elvis Fields, Brad Holder, Johnny Messer, Rod Abrams, and Ned Smith, Patrick Westfall, and Taylor Hornaday much earlier. They would have asked different questions of law enforcement at their depositions and been better prepared for trial earlier. Terms of Mr. Allen's imprisonment and early trial considerations. The fact that Richard Allen remains trapped in solitary confinement in the secured housing unit of both Westville Correctional Facility and the Wabash Valley Correctional Facility while on pretrial detention has caused a physical and mental deterioration of Mr. Allen, causing the defense counsel to seek a speedy trial rather than risk their client facing further mental and physical deterioration. The fact that the state of Indiana has violated rules of discovery through very late disclosure of large volumes of evidence, including evidence that supports the theories of innocence, has put the defense in a precarious position where it could have kept the October 2024 trial date and then spent the next 6 to 8 months reviewing late evidence that the state of Indiana had in its possession at the risk of continued deterioration of their client's physical and mental well-being, or seek a speedy trial and hope that they could put the case together in spite of the significant discovery violations perpetuated by the state that have put the defense at least 9 to 10 months behind where it should have been that the state of Indiana had followed the rules. As a basis for understanding the impact of solitary confinement for even 2 weeks on a human being, let alone 16 plus months, the defense cites the United Nations findings on that topic. The United Nations Standard Minimum Rules for the Treatment of Prisoners, Rules 43 and 44, prohibits the imposition of solitary confinement for prolonged periods, defined as periods of 15 days or longer. Additionally, per the UN standards, solitary confinement should be prohibited in the case of prisoners with physical or mental disabilities when their conditions would be exacerbated by such measures. Rule 45, United Nations General Assembly 70-175, the United Nations Standard Minimum Rules for the Treatment of Prisoners, page 13 through 14, December 17, 2015. The decision to seek a speedy trial was not hastily made but only decided after factoring in that Richard Allen has been languishing in solitary confinement for well over a year, approximately 536 days, or 521 days longer than allowed by the United Nations, which equates to more than 20 times the standards set out by the United Nations, and continues to suffer both mentally and physically. The defense fears that delaying the trial will result in continued and prolonged mental and physical trauma to Richard Allen, or even worse. So then why are you putting forth motions that would absolutely delay the trial? Do you see the contradictions that these men continue to do? They are not giving the best defense, in my opinion, to this man. Richard Allen is not getting the best possible defense. The defense fears that delaying the trial will result in continued and prolonged mental and physical trauma to Richard Allen, or even worse. Choosing a speedy trial and dealing as best as it can with the fallout from the state of Indiana's late discovery disclosures was and still is a better option than risking Richard Allen's well-being by prolonging the trial date to October. The request for sanctions as a sanction for the belated disclosure of the report drafted by Assistant Rushville Police Chief Todd Click. The defense requests that the jury be instructed that Assistant Chief Click's report contains evidence tending to prove the innocence of Mr. Allen, and that the prosecution failed to turn over that evidence to the defense in a timely manner. Further, the defense requests that the state of Indiana be excluded from rebutting any information presented by the defense and contained in an Assistant Chief Click's report and accompanying videotape statements. I am so over this. I can't even finish reading this. We're not even going to finish. I just can't go on. I'm so done. I am just so done. Let's see. Hang on one second here. I want to, gosh, you guys, so much, I just, I just, it's just nuts. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. It's so crazy because 1 minute they are talking about the fact that they need him to go to trial right away because he is emotionally suffering because of being in solitary confinement. But on the other hand, they're stating, but wait, we can't go to trial. We haven't had a chance to look at all the discovery. What do you think? I mean, what do you think? We're supposed to look at every page of the discovery? We can't do that. We don't have enough staff. That is admitting that you are not giving your client the best possible defense that they could have. Who in the world would not look at every single thing that the state has on this case? And why would you not? That's how things do get missed or get, I mean, it's just a joke, you guys. It's just a joke. Like I said. So I was going through Reddit last week. I was trying to catch up on some Reddit stuff because I hadn't been doing my due diligence over on Reddit for a while. And I thought, it's probably my time to try to read up on some stuff. And I came across some things that I thought I should share with you because I thought that they were really interesting. So in there's a Redditor who wrote this, and it's old_heart_7780 is the user. And he titled it, or she titled it, "I don't want to be somebody's fall guy." Richard Allen's words to investigators on October the 26th, 2022. Does anyone else think those are strange words coming from the guy whose unfired 40 caliber Smith & Wesson, it wasn't Smith & Wesson, was it? Smith & Wesson bullet was found lying just inches from a murdered child. Richard Allen strikes me as a somewhat intelligent 50-something-year-old, a guy who kept up with the latest NASDAQ index while out hiking on a local trail. It's safe to assume he kept up with all the latest news on the Delphi investigation. That summer, we were all hanging on the edge of our seats. Surely he knew the Indiana State Police investigators were busy that summer wading in the murky water of the Wabash River below the Kelly Avenue Bridge on the east side of Peru, Indiana, a bridge he too no doubt crossed over on his way to work during his short employment at that transmission production plant in Kokomo, Indiana, where another Mexico native worked for over 25 plus years. Surely Richard Allen kept up with the Delphi murder investigation news and gossip over the years. He would have had to have known about law enforcement's interest in the landowner who owned the land where Abby and Libby were found. What is the chance a 70-something-year-old male would have visited that CVS pharmacy for some prostate prescription or the occasional hemorrhoid flare-up medication an old man with a shitty diet may have needed? What's the chance the smart young CVS pharmacy tech knew just where to look whilst helping the old curmudgeon out? Surely they've met inside that retail giant store located in that town of less than 3,000 people. Was he that guy's fall guy? Or perhaps Richard Allen knew about that other suspect living on Canal Street in Peru, Indiana, inside that 2-story house along the banks of the Wabash River, where the FBI and the ISP had blocked off that section of roadway in front of that house back on February 25th, 2017. Surely Richard Allen knew about that suspect, or should I say suspects. After all, both he and his wife and his recently passed best friend, forever brother-in-law, were all from that small, sane central Indiana town, including that even smaller nearby town of Mexico. Short bus riders on that daily short trip to the nearby Peru school district, both young and old, all on that same short bus ride from Mexico to Peru and back home again in the afternoon. It was in the 80s, back when kids still played outside and in the rough streets of Mexico, Indiana. Richard Allen doesn't want to be somebody's fall guy. What an odd thing to say to investigators that have your bullet in their possession. And let's not forget how and when those bullets came into those investigators' hands. Shortly after all that intensive ISP searching in a river below a bridge, including the backyard search of that widowed mother, the grandmother of the 2 men who lived in that riverfront home on Canal. I personally think Richard Allen had always been known by investigators. No lost tip, rather investigators protecting the integrity of the investigation whilst keeping the name of Bridge Guy under wraps all those years. Richard Allen knew he was always a suspect. We just didn't know he knew, because the Delphi investigators were good at keeping that part of the investigation unknown to the public. They were looking for someone that could have recognized Richard Allen from Libby's courageous, grainy video of Bridge Guy. They were never looking for the man that basically told the Indiana CO he was the last person to see Abby and Libby alive that afternoon. They were never seen alive again. They have his bullet. That bullet recklessly ejected in the heat of the moment between the bodies of 2 murdered young girls. Not just the ejection striation markings matching his gun, but the head stamp on those bullets, all matching as well. A head stamp from a die used to stamp the brass casings on a box of .40 caliber Smith & Wesson bullets found on his shelf. Magnify that head stamp 10,000 times and tell me that it's not a fingerprint matching all the other bullets found in his possession on his shelf. No wonder Jerry Holman was fired up that day. That day he knew one of the killers was sitting in front of him. Richard Allen knew that day that they raided his house, that they had him. He didn't run because he had nowhere to run to. He stuck around and thought he could bullshit his way through a 5-year-long quiet investigation. I don't doubt for one single moment his wife knew he was Bridge Guy, and that Bridge Guy talked to the Indiana CO about that day. He was the last male seen on that trail. That day, Abby and Libby were never seen living again. Stand by your man. How incredibly pathetic, especially given that graduation photo of his daughter taken on that bridge. She knew Ricky, and his words just made it apparent she knew Leave my wife out of it. She knew. He finally fessed up to a wife of 25 plus years the day that stack of evidence was put in front of him. He's not crazy. He's just mad. He's mad because he knew that he was now caught being that fall guy for that guy he knew from growing up in that impossibly small town of Mexico. You don't think they knew one another? Give me a break. It's small town America where everyone knows everyone and their brother, sister, mother, and brother-in-laws, including their wives, daughters, and Cheeto-eating sons. I look at people who defend a man indicted for murdering 2 kids, a man sitting in a maximum security prison, not just for the sake of keeping him from getting away, but for the sake of keeping him healthy for his date with justice. I look at those people and I just shake my head. People believing a local sheriff candidate would risk going to jail themselves for purposely trying to frame some CVS pharmacy tech. Seriously? They're going to risk themselves going to prison just so they could be a small county sheriff from someplace most of us never knew even existed. And not only that, but they've got the local prosecutor, the Indiana State Police, the Indiana State Supreme Court, and of course, Judge Diener and Judge Gull, all involved in this elaborate conspiracy to convict a man that said he was the last to have seen Abby and Libby alive that day. Personally, I haven't seen all of the evidence against Richard Allen, so I won't make judgment. I'm waiting to see what it was that he saw that day he decided to tell his wife it was true, and then start eating his poop. What could it have been in the mountain of discovery that made him so hungry? Could it have been that they were surveilling him the whole time that search was going down in Peru? Could they have been watching both men that summer we were all clinging to our seats? Could the investigators have been using the Murder Sheet podcasters to make sure that they had those 2 suspects' attention? Maybe all of that was for them and not for us. I think so. I think Richard Allen and the other suspect I will simply call the Peeper. I think the Peeper and Richard were the Murder Sheet's 2 biggest listeners that summer when suddenly everything changed. Their other biggest fan was that guy who I think was the weakest link, Mr. Cheetos Eater himself, who was seen wearing his bright orange county jumper while shackled and chained and escorted to that bridge by Vito and Clinton. The weakest link, Junior, aka Mr. Cheetos. There's always a weak link in every chain, right? I don't want to be somebody's fall guy. Sounds like an admission to me. We shall see. I thought this was a very clear and concise post. I don't agree with everything that this poster said, but I thought it was extremely eye-opening. And the way that he broke down, or she broke down, what his, that he brought up that he didn't want to be somebody's fall guy. I just thought that was an interesting thing as well, to say. I just think it's quite interesting. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but and we have also had Nick McClellan objected to the the defendant's motion to suppress that was filed on April the 11th. And Nick stated that the state has provided the defense with statements of Richard Allen. Those statements include phone calls made by Richard Allen to his wife and his mother, and statements that he made to the Indiana Department of Corrections staff and inmates. The statements made to Indiana Department of Corrections staff and inmates, referred to as suicide companions, consist of statements on door sheets. These door sheets are forms provided by the Indiana Department of Corrections for monitoring the behaviors and statements of Richard Allen at a frequency determined necessary by mental health personnel. That the state has identified and provided the names of all suicide companions, which the state intends to call as witnesses for confessions and relevant statements against his own interest, which includes 16 correctional officers, 8 inmate companions, Warden Gallipo, mental health personnel, and Indiana State Police officers. The admissibility of a confession is controlled by determining from the totality of the circumstances whether the confession was made voluntarily and was not induced by violence, threats, or other improper influences that overcame the defendant's free will. This is from Carter versus State, 730 Northeast, 2D 155 156, Indiana 2000. The same test determines whether Miranda rights were voluntarily waived. See Gregory versus State, 540 NE 2D 585 592, Indiana 1989. Thus, the voluntariness of a defendant's waiver of rights is judged by the totality of the circumstances. An express written or oral waiver of rights is not necessary to establish a waiver of Miranda rights. The Fifth Amendment's privilege against self-incrimination applies to the states through the 14th Amendment. When a defendant challenges the voluntariness of a statement under the United States Constitution, the state must prove by a preponderance of the evidence that the statement was voluntarily given. In addition, the Indiana Constitution, Article 1, Section 14, provides that no person in any criminal prosecution shall be compelled to testify against himself. The Indiana Constitution requires that the state to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant voluntarily waived his rights and that he voluntarily gave his statement. The self-incrimination clause of the Fifth Amendment protects an accused only from being compelled to testify against himself or otherwise provide the state with the evidence of a testimonial or communicative nature. In order to be testimonial, an accused communication must itself explicitly or implicitly relate a factual assertion or disclose information. The term interrogation under Miranda refers not only to express questioning, but also to any words or actions on the part of police other than those normally attendant to arrest and custody, that the police should know are reasonably likely to elicit an incriminating response from the suspect. Since police cannot be held accountable for the unforeseen results of their words and actions, the definition of interrogation can extend only to words or actions on the part of police officers that they should have known were reasonably likely to elicit an incriminating response. That the defendant is being held in pretrial detention for his safety pursuant to court order. Inmates of the PLUS program and subsequently corrections officers at the IDOC holding facilities have been assigned to observe Richard Allen and to record his behaviors, which have included documenting statements by Richard Allen. That the assignment of correctional officers to replace inmate companions coincided with Richard Allen being provided with legal documents for his case. Therefore, it was determined no longer appropriate for inmates to provide companion services due to the gag order and discovery protective order, so that he no longer had those companion inmates with him. That the defendant alleges all his statements subsequent to arrest should be suppressed for the reason that they are all involuntary due to the conditions of his pretrial detention, which they characterize as illegal coercion, either psychological or physical, in violation of his constitutional rights. Statements by Richard Allen, which the defense seeks to suppress, are unsolicited and voluntary, like those in Say versus State, where the defendant made unsolicited statements while he was being moved from one part of the jail to another. Such statements was properly admitted into evidence. The defense has alleged that physical coercion by state actors has resulted in involuntary statements by Richard Allen that should be suppressed. The defense has also alleged that psychological coercion by the state actors has resulted in involuntary statements by Richard Allen that should be suppressed. That the defendant has not alleged that any of these statements are the result of interrogation by law enforcement while in custody. And the state would assert that Richard Allen is not being interrogated by law enforcement or any agent of the state during his pretrial detention. regarding the charges pending herein or regarding any other criminal activity. The case law on application of the protection of the Fifth Amendment indicates that absent interrogation by law enforcement or an agent of the state, the defense does not have a basis to challenge the admissibility of voluntary statements made by Richard Allen. The state acknowledged its burden to show beyond a reasonable doubt that the statement was not obtained in violation of the Indiana Constitution or by a preponderance of the evidence, and that the statement was not obtained in violation of the United States Constitution. However, the state does not believe the constitutional protection allows for the defendant to allege that all statements during pretrial detention are the result of coercion directed against him. This posture requires the court to begin with an assumption that pretrial detention in IDOC by its very nature is coercive interrogation by a stated actor, and thereby shift the burden to the state to present testimony to refute illegal coercion for every statement made by the defendant. The defendant is making a blanket argument that all statements by Richard Allen are the result of improper influences based on the defendant's mental state, without having to address each statement and its unique circumstances. The defense argument ignores the case law regarding application of their cited constitutional protections by skipping over the threshold of showing or alleging interrogation by law enforcement or their agents. The defense motion expects the court to accept that all inmates, employees, and third-party medical or mental health personnel are acting as agents of the state, specifically law enforcement, with the purpose of illegally coercing statements from Richard Allen for his prosecution. The allegations and assumptions are absurd, unfounded, not supported by the motions filed or any facts of evidence. The motion to suppress all of Richard Allen's statements is another attempt by the defense to derail this case with conspiracy theories and inflame the public to believe the government has unjustly pursued charges against Richard Allen. The state requests that the defense be required to identify the specific statements of Richard Allen that were illegally coerced and identified the state actor whose conduct supports the allegations of coercion and describe the conduct that they believe to be either physically or psychologically coercive before the state is required to respond for further analysis by the court. In the absence of specific allegations by the defendant to each statement against his interest that is involuntary as a result of law enforcement interrogation, the state asserts that the defendant has not sufficiently identified statements subject to a motion to suppress. Wherefore, the state requests that the court will deny the defendant's motion to suppress statements filed on April 11th, 2024, as failing to state a claim for relief under the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 12, 13, and 14 of the Indiana Constitution. Absent a mere specific statement setting forth without specificity the statements obtained during custodial interrogation by law enforcement or their agent, and identifying the conduct by such state actors that would be psychological or physical coercion, illegally and knowingly directed against Richard Allen for the purpose of inducing confessions or statements against his own interest. Now, I feel that the state hit it out of the park with this one. I believe that this is probably one of the best answers to suppression that I've heard Nick write. Because they don't have a leg to stand on when they're sitting here talking about the fact that these statements by him need to be suppressed because they were all coerced. They cited, the state cites that this has to be through interrogation, and none of this was interrogation. Seriously, you guys, this is just, to me, this is just incredible, and it just keeps getting crazier and crazier. And I'm so glad that he pointed out in his statement in his response, that the allegations that they're making are absurd and that the assumptions they're making are unfounded and not supported by the motion that they're filing. They're not supported by anything that they're saying, not only by facts or any of the evidence. And this, to me, is huge. The motion to suppress all of Richard Allen's statements is another attempt by the defense to derail this case with conspiracy theories and inflame the public to believe that the government has unjustly pursued charges against Richard Allen. If you would have told me 7 years ago, you guys, that we would find ourselves here on this spot, on this day, within just weeks of trial, I'm here to tell you, I just can't even begin to tell you. I would have never in my wildest imagination thought that we would be here. I just can't. So who came in while I've been busy? Let's see. Mary, thank you so much. So kind of you to say. Holman is awesome. Holman, I wouldn't want to go up against Holman. He knows his stuff. Stay pressed, Delulu Bishes. But the prosecution has nothing, no evidence. Yeah, they don't have no evidence. Hey, it's me. How are you? Stay pressed says, but Nick has no case. He's afraid to go to trial. He's never entered a courtroom before. Yeah, no, Nick's got it going on, you guys. And he has help. He now has 2 attorneys that are helping him specifically. One of them, which is an attorney with a lot of experience. And I think that that's a good thing. So yeah. Hey, Aspen, how are you, my dear? That's hilarious. I mean, just absolutely hilarious. Rick is being railroaded. He only has 11 attorneys. And yet they can't even look at discovery. They've got all these people. If they would spend more time looking at page after page of discovery instead of disseminating crime scene photos and trying to taint juries, maybe they would be farther along in this case. That's what I would like to say to them. You guys claim that you are so professional and you have all this experience between you and all of this great knowledge. Why don't you start using it and putting it towards the benefit of your client instead of the grandstanding that they're doing with these motions? It's ridiculous. And it's one thing to confess to one person. It's another thing to confess to 2 people, maybe even 3. I would even go as far as 4 or 5. But we are talking 40-some people here. We're talking multiple people. And the fact that they have some of these confessions recorded is going to be huge. And I think I told you guys a few months back or a month or so back that, when I spoke to my family member who's a detective, he told me, because I've thrown this back and forth with him with this case. And he said the biggest obstacle he saw with what we know so far that Richard Allen is going to have to hurdle is his confessions. Those are going to come back to bite him. They are hard to get to go away. I do not believe that she's going to throw this stuff out. I do not believe that she's going to make these statements inadmissible. I just don't see that happening. I just don't. Um, oh, and I wanted to say to you guys, I have the absolute best supporters. I mean, my subscribers and the people that are members of my channel, you guys are amazing. Excuse me. And I just want to give you a shout out real quick. And don't beat me, but my stomach's been upset, so I'm drinking a soda. I haven't had a soda in years. But I am because my stomach's been upset today. But anyway, I wanted to thank you all for the wonderful messages that you sent me last week. I got so many emails, so many wonderful Discord messages, and just messages in general. Everyone wishing me a speedy recovery and thinking about me during my surgery. And for all of the kind supporters that I have that sent me cash apps, that I had people DoorDash me Starbucks, you guys. I had people DoorDash me Starbucks. Who does that? I mean, I have the best people. That was like the best thing that happened for me. The day that I got that first one that came, because I've had 3 or 4 now. Starbucks DoorDashed to me by subscribers. I was like, I was having a really crappy day. I was sore, and I'm been kind of bummed because I can't get out. I can't drive. So I can't get out to get my Starbucks fixed. And I have a Starbucks problem, you guys. I admit it. I have a Starbucks problem. So I just wanted to throw that out there for anyone who's watching, and if it was you that did it, I appreciate you all so very much. You guys you're just awesome. I think that there is going I think that the defense wants a lot of people to shut up. Um this comment here, hold on a second. Stay pressed says his defense wants him to shut up. They're trying to advance their careers. I agree, they're trying to advance their careers, but he's not the only one that they're trying to silence. They are trying to silence YouTubers. They're trying to silence people that are speaking out against them, and that are calling out their BS. They're trying to silence us as well. Trust me. And, I've had people say, be careful because they're going to come after you. They're going to, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Let them come. I mean, I don't feel that I'm doing anything wrong. I'm speaking my mind. I'm speaking my opinions. I have said many, many times, Richard Allen is innocent. He's not had his day in court. He deserves to have the best possible defense that he can possibly get, and I don't believe he's getting it. I believe that they are making a mockery of defending him, actually, and I just think it's ridiculous what they've been doing and what they've allowed to do. I mean, like I said, it's their own fault that they got removed from the case, but yet they want to blame everybody else. It reminds me of the toddler who got in trouble for his hand being in the cookie jar, and he's going to blame his brother. Take no responsibility. They take no responsibility for any of the stuff that they've done and created in this case and the harm that they've done. And like I said, if they were that upset about the fact that the discovery didn't come to them in December of 2022, why was there not motions to the court on December 25th, 2022, stating, where's our discovery? Where's our discovery? Why were they not pounding those motions to the court until they got a ruling on it? Because they didn't care back then. They didn't have time to deal with it. They had been given discovery. They make it sound like they didn't get any, and they did. They did get discovery early on. Go back and look at the court documents. They were getting discovery, not just the discovery that they feel is relevant to their theory. They didn't get that when they wanted it. You can't pick and choose. You know, this isn't a pick and choose kind of game here, you know. It's just it's these are supposed to be professionals. These people are supposed to be professional professionals in their field. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I definitely believe, obviously, I believe there will be appeal. I believe there will be plenty of things to appeal on this case. Um, and I don't believe that's Judge Gull's fault. I believe that there's just no way around it. There's just been too much, too much. But we got to get there first. We got to get to a conviction for there to be an appeal. And I don't want a mistrial. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if emotionally and mentally I can handle this if we have to go through all this again. Because it's just been so much. It takes so much out of us. Those who follow this case know what I'm talking about. Those of us that don't use this as entertainment, this case means something to us. It resonates with us. We feel like, we care. And I do care. I just believe, what are we talking about, Charles? What is this? Who is Frack? Oh, the swatting. It's terrible. The stuff that people do, my best friend whose husband is the judge, they've been swatted. They've been swatted. And it came from somebody in California is who was the guilty party that did it to them. It's scary. This day and age, there are such crazy people out there. You just don't know who you're dealing with. It just goes, like I said, it just goes to show you that you got it. Like I said, you've got to be careful about the content that you consume and where you go with that. And make sure that when you're looking or reading something on the internet, that you actually yourself go through and vet it. Don't just trust me because you like me. Don't trust me because you think I'm a good person. Go find out for yourselves. I'm not going to steer you wrong. I'm never going to tell you something to get you off course or to have you think wrong. I won't ever do that to anybody here. But I could be wrong. And I always tell everybody that. I may not always be right. I don't have to be right. If I'm wrong, I'm going to admit it. Because why not? What is, I'm not going to win some award for being right. I'm not expecting to win some award for being right. I don't need to have a YouTube plaque on the back of my wall that says I have 100,000 subscribers. That's not why I started my channel. It's not why I came here. You know, my $100, about 114 is what I made this last month. My $114 check that I get from YouTube a month, that's not why I'm here, guys. My time's worth more than that to me. YouTube takes a huge chunk of what we get. I love you, Aspen. I trust you. I trust you. I trust your voice. I have for a very long time. You know that. And it is so hard to stay in our lane. It's so hard to keep our focus, you know, and just report the case and what's happening in it. I've had these conversations with Frank Meister. I've had these conversations with Ruckus. I've had them with the captain from True Crime Garage. You know, I've talked to people behind the scenes. I've talked to GonZo about this a lot. It's really hard for us to know who to trust. And, you know, I'm a trusting person. I'm one of these types of people that I try to see the goodness in everyone. And sometimes on YouTube and on the internet, that's not always a good thing. And I have learned the hard way, trust me, the hard way of how to get too wrapped up in the YouTube streets. And so I try to stay out of that stuff. And there has been so much around this case. And now we've got it since we've gotten to the trial portion, an arrest and a trial portion of this case. It's just gotten ridiculous. We now have the defense in a high profile case in this country utilizing social media to sway and taint a pool of jurors. Stop and think about what that means, you guys. Where's the justice in that? They're talking about the justice that Richard Allen isn't getting. What about what his defense is doing? Who goes out and asks just any crazy YouTuber to call in and give us information that you've got on this case? Do they even know the floodgates that they were opening when they did that? And all the crazy people that were going to come at them? Obviously not, because they sure in the heck didn't vet them before they stuck their names and their information into huge motions and put them on the case record for this case. And they do. And Jamie is absolutely right. They are weaponizing their platforms to shut us up, to get us to be quiet. It isn't going to work with me. They can try to weaponize all they want. Hey, it's me. Thank you so much for your $5 super sticker. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Hey, Teach Me. Thank you so much for your $9.99 super sticker. I appreciate it very, very much. It's just, you know, there are so many of us that through Twitter, and yes, I still call it Twitter. Sorry, it'll always be Twitter to me. Through Twitter and Reddit, and you know, if you're a Facebook person, fine, that's good. I'm not a Facebook person that does I Facebook for my family and my friends. I don't Facebook for my channel. I have a Facebook group, but I don't use it. I don't utilize it. And those that are members there know it. I'm never in there. So, but I do utilize Twitter, and I've tried to use Twitter as a platform to bring awareness to other cases and share other cases and stuff that's out there, because it's really easy to share that information. But you know, Lynn, I don't know if they know he's guilty, but I guarantee you that they are definitely trying to show that he's being railroaded. That's the defense that they chose. That's what they're running with. And that now it's not just the fact that he's innocent, that he didn't do this. Now they're saying, hey, we got these 3 other people who committed this crime, at least 3 others that committed this crime, and they suppress that. Does that even make sense to anybody sitting here tonight? Who is going to let a child murderer go free knowingly? Ask yourself that question. What person and what kind of person does it take to let someone who killed 2 children go free? And Gail's right. Gail is right. Why doesn't he just say so? Why doesn't he come up with an alibi? What's his alibi? His alibi isn't that he left the bridge. What did he do when he left the bridge? Where did he go? What was he doing? What's his alibi? Hey, Daisy. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. I'm assuming you're the same Daisy. I could be wrong. Squeaky wheel, Bob Mata and criminality. Do I win a prize? You do for me. No, I'm not here to just badmouth YouTubers. Whatever they choose to do is fine with me. Do whatever. If you're going to defame my fellow creators, if you're going to try to create stories that aren't true about my fellow creators and ruin their lives, and if you're going to try to go out there and go after the families of Libby and Abby and continue to make content about their guilt, damn right I'm going to stand up and say that you're absolutely insane and you need to be removed from this genre. Absolutely. And I will continue to turn your crap in. I will continue to copyright strike you because I'm not going to put up with that kind of stuff. I'm not going to overlook that when that stuff's going on. When people are being bullied and people are being threatened and lives are being hurt, I'm not going to sit back and let that continue, because that would be me being culpable. I couldn't live with myself. And I never, ever, until Abby and Libby's case, I never was on social media following true crime. I got all my true crime from print media and from the news media itself and documentaries and books. Like I said, print media, books. I didn't look at anything on social media. I didn't look at YouTube. I found Reddit by accident. Somebody told me about it and said, you need to go check out to see if they have a Reddit sub about your case that you're so into. That's what got me there. My son-in-law sent me to Reddit. He said, go check it out. And that's how I found that sub. And when I got in there and was in there for about 10 months and saw the crazy that was going on in there and how people were making it so personal and how they attacked one another, and it was all about them and nothing about Abby and Libby and nothing about the case, I was like, this is not Social Sunday. This isn't high school study hall. This is, this is real life. This is a real true story, and people were brutally murdered, and lives have been shattered and crushed. And we've got people behaving like this around this case. I don't know how people even can sit back and just even talk about it, really. And I have nothing wrong with people defending Richard Allen. Nothing. If you want to defend Richard Allen, more power to you. Just bring the proof. You've got to bring the proof. You can't just blatantly say stuff and not have receipts to back it up. I don't know what terrified of their subs. I don't know what that means. I mean, I don't know how a sub could terrify you. They're terrified maybe of losing their livelihood, because if they stop being drama channels, and what do they call them? Uh, what did they call it? Crama, the crime drama, crama channels. If they stopped that, people would stop watching them. Maybe a huge part of their fan base would stop watching them. I don't know. I go back to good old Gray Hughes. Gray's been covering Delphi since the very beginning. He was one of the very first people, if not on YouTube, that covered this case. And people can say everything they want to about him not being a nice person, him being this, him being that. I don't care what Gray is when it comes to that. What I do care is the content that he puts out around the case. And he puts out good content. When he's talking about timelines and maps and people and places and where things happened and how things happened, that information you can count on. He's not going to put stuff out there that's not true. I like Todd's question. Why would Richard Allen leave the bridge and not walk across it? He had the day off. It was an unexpectedly warm February day. He had nowhere to be. He didn't need to leave. What's his explanation for supposedly leaving? He could very easily, Todd, say, I'm afraid of heights. That's why he didn't go across the bridge. Trust me, you have to have some cojones to walk across that bridge with no railing. I've been on the bridge. I have an enormous fear of heights, and that is not a place for anyone to start questioning whether or not they want to be up there or not. And to be up there when there's other people on the bridge with you, I can't imagine how terrifying that is. Because again, it only takes one misstep by somebody bumping into you or whatever, and boom, you're over the side. And oh, I know, it does. Gray's timeline makes them get really ticked off. Yeah. I like this. CJK says, so he went on the bridge to watch the fish, but he wouldn't go across it, not buying it. Try again, Ricky. Anybody that's willing to stand on those platforms that jut out from the bridge, there's a special kind of crazy for you. Because if you looked at those and how those were attached, I wouldn't say that they were all that structurally sound back then. And yeah, you had to really be trusting to just go stand on one of those. So, um Laura says, Kristen, there could be a spider on the bridge and I'd react and jump away from it. Yeah, I hear you. Um, but it's like I said, just pay attention to the content that you're absorbing. You know, I, you know, you guys know who I back and who I believe in and who I trust. Um, do I believe and encompass everything that they do? No. What would that make me if I said that I 100% um believe the same way that everybody else I follow does? I think Sleuth is amazing. I think that they are amazing, or he's amazing. He has done amazing work on this case. Do I agree with everything he's put out there? No, I don't. Do I think that he has a lot of good information and that he covers the case well? I do. Will I send people to watch him? I will. Do I consider him a friend? I do. Um, the same for Aspen, the same for Deb, True Crime Notebook. Um, Frank Meister, absolutely, 100% trust him. I believe that he cares deeply about this case and about um, maintaining the integrity of the case. I don't believe that he goes around and puts out crap. Um, he doesn't just go off the deep end. Um, and he's definitely not in it for money. Um, Rescue All the Dogs is another one who I believe helps support him, and has become a wonderful voice for this community. She does so much behind the scenes, and I that's another person that I feel is a really good person in this community. Um, GonZo, absolutely 100%. Um, Steve from True Crime Web, can't say enough about the man. He's absolutely amazing. His expertise goes beyond. He knows what he's talking about. He has the experience. He uses visual aids in teaching those who know nothing about what he's talking about to help us better understand. Um, and getting a law enforcement perspective from the crime scene investigator standpoint and aspect of a case is huge, in my opinion. So I love having that. Um, and then, of course, Ruckus. I mean, people can say what they want to about Ruckus, and I'm sure they do. But I respect Ruckus. Ruckus is just who he get. You get who he is. He doesn't put on airs. He doesn't pretend to be somebody that he's not. He's not out there trying to manipulate people. Um, he's trustworthy. Um, and he's also law enforcement that sees the case from a standpoint of a jailer, which gives us another clarity, another form of clarity on the case, in my opinion. And then, of course, yes, my good, dear friend, Fig Solves. And, I'm sad at what happened with Fig, but I understand why he chose to go quiet, because he did not want to take away from the trial. And I'm going to speak out about him forever. He knows what it's like to be a family member of a violent crime victim. He knows what it's like to go through a trial. He knows what it's like to listen to all of the crap and stuff that's spewed about your family and everything. He knows what it is all about. He's been there. He would never ever do anything to hurt a case. And well, the Inquisitor is my good buddy. So yeah. Um, the Inquisitor and I are good friends. So I have to admit, he's got it going on as well. And he's over Delphi. He firmly is. He believes that they have enough to get their conviction. And we need to move on. And I get it. I mean, because it comes to a point where all the drama and all of the other stuff that's going on personally between people and all of this stuff, it becomes high school. And I've been out of high school for 45 years, you guys. I've been out of high school for 45 years. I don't want to go back to high school. And we all have each other's backs. We all know why each one of us is here and why we do what we do. And we don't need all that, the accolade of somebody constantly massaging my ego. I just don't need that, because that's not what this is about. It's just not. Have a good night, Wanda. Thank you for being here. And there are some really sick people around the case. But the fact that we spend so much time talking about them and the content that they're putting out and not talking about Richard Allen is exactly what the defense wants. Because they don't want us focusing on Richard Allen and why Richard Allen should be looked at and what evidence they have against Richard Allen. They don't want us focusing on that. They don't want us talking about that. Oh, Rescue, you're so fine. I just adore you. It's okay. It's okay. And yeah, I said Steve from True Crime Web. Steve and Mrs. Steve they're going above and beyond. His foundation and what he has done in a short amount of time to help victims, families out there of some of these cold cases. I just can't say enough. And, if you guys are often wondering, what can I do to help? How can I make a difference? Give $5 to Steve's foundation. Help him on his next big trip that he has to do, because it costs money to do this stuff. And he does this out of the goodness of his heart, you guys. He's going out and doing these things. I mean, he's already put 6,000 miles this year alone to help these cold cases. And he's just getting started, because it's just now thawing out most places to where he doesn't like to venture where there's snow on the ground. But so that was one of the things that I wanted to share with you that I found on Reddit. And then this was something else that I thought was really interesting too. This was written by realistic _cicada_39. And it's called Ricky's Rights. If Ricky is being so mistreated and abused in prison, why haven't any national organizations like the ACLU stepped in? Why haven't his attorneys presented video and audio evidence of this abuse to the court? Richard Allen is under 24-hour surveillance. Everything he does is recorded on tape. How come when Rick was threatened with involuntary medication, he magically got better and his psychosis mysteriously healed on its own? If solitary confinement drives a person crazier as time goes on, as the defense would like to state, why was his psychosis a one-time thing? Or is he still suffering from psychosis? Is he still eating his own excrement? Still drinking out of the toilet? Inquiring minds want to know. If he was having a psychotic break, did he even have the ability to keep his own defense or to help with his own defense? If he was having a psychotic break, why didn't the defense petition the court to have him medically evaluated and stop the trial proceedings? Did he want Rozzi and Baldwin to stay on the case, or was he unaware of what he was signing? Was he unaware of truly what's been going on? Why have his attorneys taken away his tablet? Why won't they let him call his wife or his mother anymore? You'd think they'd want a bunch of recorded conversations in which Rick is on record stating Odin guards are threatening him and his family. You would think that they would want a bunch of recorded conversations in which Richard Allen says, "What? I confessed? When? I have no memory of that. I did no such thing. I didn't kill those girls. I didn't molest those girls. I'm innocent. I'm being abused." If pretrial detainees have a right to call their wife and their mama, why are Richard Allen's attorneys denying him that right? Why are they being so cruel to him? And I thought that that was pretty eye-opening, and that person brought up some really interesting points. Because I firmly agree with that. Again, if you're going to call out and state as the defense, all of these things that you're saying are wrong, that he's being mistreated, why are they not petitioning the court for relief? If they believe that he has had some sort of a mental break and some sort of psychosis, why have they not petitioned the court to stop the trial proceeding? Because that's all they have to do. And then they would have him evaluated. The evaluation would be determined. And if he was determined to having some sort of psychosis, then he would be mandated to a state mental facility, and he would be mandated to be there until he was deemed to be able to be fit to stand trial. And that could take however long, years. Carrie, same thing. I was so angry with her when I found out that she had put out Judge Gull's email address on her live broadcast to her over 170,000 subscribers, or whatever her numbers are. I don't even know anymore. I immediately unsubscribed and canceled my membership because I was a paying member to her channel. And I wrote her. I wrote her on Twitter, and I said, and I have her email. I mean, I could have emailed her as well, but I didn't. I sent her a message on Twitter, and I just said, I don't get it. I don't know why you would do that. Why would you inundate a court in the middle of a trial with garbage? Because that's what's going to happen. You just put out a judge's email address and told your subscribers to write to her. To me, it was the most irresponsible thing that she could have ever done. And so, yeah, so I got removed. All my comments were removed, and she blocked me. So it's fine. It's fine. I'm still not going to not say what she did was wrong. What she did was completely wrong and absurd. And then I called her out and said, I don't understand why you're so vehemently covering this case when you don't live in this country. You have You know nothing about our laws. You know nothing about what's going on over here, but you claim to. And you're live. How many times a day is that woman alive on her live stream? I mean, it's just constant. So I was just like, and I just went off on her. So that was me. um, oh yeah, it's very apparent. It's absolutely very apparent. Oh yeah. Yeah, I started following her when she was at 25,000 subscribers, and she blew up. And after Gabby Petito, her coverage of the Gabby Petito case blew her channel up, and she just soared from there. And like I said, it's just I'm sorry, it's just wrong. It's just wrong what she did. Um and like I said, I'm just everybody that's willing to, to jump on the bandwagon for Rick Allen and all of his rights and everything, but nobody ever says anything about Abby and Libby's rights. Because, in this country, victim rights are overlooked. And that's the truth. And I know that there's word on the street out there that the defense has paid YouTubers to do stuff. I don't know if that's true or not. The YouTubers, if it is, they know. The guys, that would have been doing the paying know. But all I'm saying is that, that is so over the top wrong. It's hilarious because I've had that conversation. What are they going to do if and when Richard Allen is convicted? What will happen to all of these people and their channels and whatever? They're going to continue. They're not going to stop. If he gets convicted, it's going to be all about him being wrongfully convicted. And before you know it, they'll have some sort of a petition to get him out of jail. They'll be having somebody try to work to get him off. Guaranteed. Hey, True Crime Housewife, good to see you. And yeah, they'll blame the jury. Even if he fully confesses, Charles, which he already has. He has fully confessed. Even if he fully confesses, he already has. He confessed to his mother. Who else do you need to confess to? You go to your mother and you confess to doing this to two little girls. What more do you need to know? So I'm just saying, he's already done that, and there's still people that don't believe it. It's going to come. He can come right out of his mouth. He could stand up in court and say, "I did this," and there will be people that say he didn't do it. He was railroaded. He was forced to say that, and everything. Carrie, you are so welcome. You know that I'm all about transparency and truth, and I'm gonna scream it from the mountainside. And Jamie, I know that. Jamie's ex was helping them and Andy. And when she found out, it ended her 8-year relationship with that person. And so, I mean, it's just one of those things. We don't know all of the evidence. We don't know half of what the evidence, in my opinion, that the state has. They took a lot of stuff out of that house. And the defense does not want that in. They're doing everything they can to keep that stuff out. Um, Again, if their client is innocent and somebody else committed the crime, why are they so worried about what was taken at the house? Why are they so worried about the so-called evidence that was taken from the house in the search warrant? Why are they worried about that? Those are the kinds of questions that I want to ask. You know, if your client is as innocent as you're saying he is, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And like I said, the whole silencing of things, I saw the writing on the wall a couple months ago, after the whole fiasco when Rosie and Baldwin were taken off the case, and they were getting ready to be brought back onto the case. And I knew then that we were going to have some really unscrupulous stuff go on, but I didn't expect it to be to the level that it has. I didn't really expect people to be threatened. I didn't expect people's families to be doxxed. I didn't expect people's pictures of people's children to be put out on the internet. I mean, I didn't expect it to go that far. Oh yeah, exactly. Stay pressed. That's exactly that's what Ruckus always says. If you're so adamant about Rick Allen and his treatment, go get him. Bring him home with you. Put him up in your spare room. Rub his feet, feed him. Give him sustenance and let him babysit your kids. At this point, Miranda, I do see it taking place in May. Um, Obviously, we're coming in within a week. We're going to be at the 1st of May. I, j- I would hate for her to wait until a week or so before the trial and then rule on something to allow the trial to be postponed. Again, yes, it's about Richard Allen and him getting a fair trial, but it's also about Abby and Libby and their families and what they've been put through. And they've waited 7 years already. And this is a defendant that has been screaming for 18 months that his Sixth Amendment rights have been violated because he's not been afforded a speedy trial. So let's give him the speedy trial. My feeling is that she is going to let them have their speedy trial. So we'll have to wait and see. Um, Gull said she would take 30 days to respond to the contempt um, issue, and we'll see if that's what she's going to do, or if she decides to hold off on that issue until after the trial, because she can do that as well. She does not have to rule on it. She can wait and deal with the whole contempt thing, the contempt issues, once the trial's over. So, and the closer they get to the trial date, I believe the more nervous the defense gets, because they've already sent out jury questionnaires. The jury questionnaires have already gone out, guaranteed. They're already looking for jurors. And yeah, I don't know. And everybody keeps saying plea deal. The only way a plea deal happens is if the state offers one. And I don't believe that the state has offered a plea deal. And I don't necessarily think that Nick McClellan wants a plea deal in this case. And I guarantee you, it would be surprising to me if the families wanted a plea deal. They cried wolf one too many times with a judge who was done with their BS. She saw through them from the very beginning. She saw through them from the get-go, you guys. And she is not happy with how as far as I'm concerned, these two men, if they were practicing attorneys in front of her in her court system in Allen County, they would be in big trouble with her. That's how I feel, because she's just like, there's procedures that are supposed to be followed, and there's etiquette that's supposed to be followed within court and decorum within court system. And they've just plowed all over that and absolutely disrespected the court in every chance they get. And as far as I'm concerned, they've also tiptoed around the gag order in ways that she doesn't feel should have ever happened. Yeah, I don't think they're going to get that money. I will say that just because of what I know from the email that I got. If it's a real email from the president of the company, now if they're doing a GoFundMe, I don't know about that. but the company that's holding the money for the crowdsourcing for experts, they will not pay that money to anyone but experts. So Richard Allen won't get it, nor will the attorneys. So, and again, we've talked about that. These kinds of cases make or break careers. These are the kinds of cases that catapult someone from prosecutor if they have aspirations of political aspirations of running for governor or higher. This is the kind of case that can get them there. These are the kinds of cases that catapult people's careers and in huge ways, just as they can tank them. They can tank them as well. So, yeah, I thought that was just lovely to hear that they're asking for the checks to be made out to Hennessy. And to think that there's people out there that are doing it. So, yeah. Yeah. Guys, it's been great. I'm really super tired. And I need to get out of this position because my knee's saying enough is enough. I need to go lay down and get my knee propped up. So I'm going to call it a night. I've been here for 2 hours. I thought I was going to be here for an hour. And here I am 2 hours later. But you know me, I get to talking and I can't shut up. So, 19 days, Aspen, 19 days and counting. We're going to get there, together. We're going to get there, you guys. And we'll get to go through this process together. We'll get to dissect, what happens and what is said. I cannot wait to hear Nick McClelland's opening statement. That is going to be huge, huge, you guys. That opening statement, he is going to lay their case out. And we are going to hear things that we've never heard before. So be prepared. And all I can say is put your seatbelts on because we just never know. Yeah, Lisa, I've got my ice machine and it's my friend. My ice machine is my friend. I plug that baby in and that ice water just flows around my knee. It's like, yay! I'm cold, but at least I'm not in pain. So, good night, everybody. Thanks for everyone who was here this evening, who stayed. Thank you to everyone who donated to my channel. I so appreciate you. I do have the Cash App now for those that want to use that instead of PayPal. So please, it's on my, it's on the front page of my channel. And thank you to everyone who has donated and been there for me in this last week. Hey, Ruckus. Good night, my dear. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. But thanks, guys. I will talk to you all really, really soon. Have a good evening. And if you get a chance, pay it forward.